I graduated from high school in 1965 and went to college, crammed 4 years into 4.5, got a commission in the Army, and prior to my leaving for active duty, I thought I could be a pots and pans salesman. No, that didn't go. But one night I was wandering around Warren. I walked into the Peterson Biddick Company and saw these mailboxes, and there was a name on one of them that I thought, well, whatever, it's Sue Matka. Don't know where she's from, so I'll just leave. And I got rid of and I quit being a pot salesman. And went on active duty, spent 3 years, 14 days on active duty, joined the reserves.
When you say active duty, what did you mean by that, Ellen? You enlisted?
I was stationed in Germany.
Okay, so did you enlist? Was this in the Army?
I was commissioned.
Commissioned officer?
Officer.
What rank were you when you went in?
I was a second lieutenant when I went in.
So it was ROTC that you went through in college?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
And then, so you were at ROTC, you had to give a certain amount of time to the military.
I had a commitment of 24 months. But because I was classified as a DMG, which is a distinguished military graduate, I didn't want to brag, but that's how you go someplace sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I went to my first officer basic course, which was at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. So I was in the engineers.
Okay.
And after getting there, I don't know if he was a DA civilian or what, but he came in and he said, we have some opportunities for some of you that fall into certain classifications, which had to do with how they got their commission. And he said, if you volunteer for an extra year, we'll send you anywhere you want to go. Oh, well, I had already fit into that category, and I said, I want to go to Germany.
What year is this?
1973, 1970.
1970, okay.
Yep, so I left for Germany in September, got there in time for one celebration of the Oktoberfest, which was a great time. And then I got to go to work. I ended up in a division supply office, 3rd Armored Division. And so I learned to be a quartermaster type individual, which was really not that much fun. But every opportunity that I had that I could volunteer to go to the field, I was there. I was first in line. I tried to beat off a couple of other lieutenants that wanted to go too, but I got first choice.
What did you do when you were out in the field?
Well,
you enjoyed it so much.
You were out of the office, away from the brass, okay, so to say. And you had a little more freedom. If you didn't shave quite right in the morning, it didn't matter. But you better get shaved before the day is over, that type of thing. We stayed in tents most of the time, and what I was doing, I was in charge of, I think there were about 4 different individuals covering different classes of supply. Class 1 being food, Class 3 being petroleum, and then there was a Class 2 and 4, which was mostly basically, which covered ammunition, armament, that type of thing.
Okay.
So I had a good time over there.
How long were you in Germany?
I was there until about the end of July of '73.
Well, so you're there for a long time.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I was discharged over there, and inflation took over, and I didn't have that much money to stay there that much longer, so I had to get out of there. So I applied for a flight home. I shipped my household goods home, and
Were you married while you were over there?
nope.
Okay,
Oh, no, I wasn't married.
okay.
I can come to that, but I got home, joined the bowling team locally, and met a guy who was in the guard, and he talked me into coming down to Thief River and signing, and well, then I got talked into signing up. And that was in September
Of 73?
of '73.
Okay. And what did you go in as? What rank were you when you went in?
I went in as a first lieutenant into the guard. I went in as a first lieutenant, and stayed there until '96, and I retired as a major.
Wow. What did you do while you were in the guard? I mean,
Well, to start with, I was a weapons platoon leader. I didn't know anything about mortars, but I learned a lot about mortars in about 4 months. And so I got congratulated for turning in an excellent record for our weapons platoon, which was the mortars.
okay.
And I thought, well, there was nothing to that.
So where'd you go to summer camp at?
We went to summer camp at Camp Ripley.
Every year? I mean, usually 2 weeks during the summer?
We did 2 weeks there every summer, yes.
Never went any place else on,
Not for a 2 week stretch.
yeah. Did you get activated anywhere?
The unit that I was in went to Fort Irwin, California one spring. And I bowed out because I had a crop to plant. I had gotten into farming, which didn't pay. But anyway, I was in farming, and I wanted to stay in farming, or at least I did at that time. And I figured if I went out to Fort Irwin, nobody would put the crop in for me. So I didn't go out there.
Okay.
But then I went to Fort, whatever the name was, in Wisconsin, Fort McCoy in Wisconsin. Went there that summer with another officer that had been in the unit that I was in. And I worked for him because he outranked me a little bit. And then when I came back from there, why, I don't remember too much more of anything that happened. One incident that kind of directed my life for quite some time, still does. That name that I saw in the Peterson Biddick on that mailbox, I asked one of the other officers that was in the unit, was married to a teacher that taught in Warren here. And so I was talking to her at a Christmas party, '74, the Christmas of '74. We had a Christmas party for the unit, and I asked her if she knew Sue Matka. She goes, "Oh yeah, she teaches first grade." And she says, "You want her telephone number?" I went, "Well, yeah." So after some hemming and hawing around, when I got home, I go, well, this was on a Thursday or Wednesday or whatever, and I'm thinking, Sandy has probably talked to Sue, and they are wondering, and what I was up to or whatever, and then so I thought I'd better call her and ask her if she wants to go to a movie. Well, I did. We went, and then I told her about how I'd gotten her name. Well, we kind of joke about that occasionally nowadays, but that was how I got married, or found a wife.
We went to the movie. Was that here in Warren at the movie theater?
No, it was in Grand Forks.
Okay. Remember the name of the movie?
No, I don't remember the name of the movie. I know where we went after the movie was over. We stopped at the what was the name of that hotel at the Westward Hole?
Yeah.
There was a bar there.
Piano bar. Yeah.
Yeah, there was the piano bar, and then there was the other bar. Well, we went to the other bar, and then I met some people from Warren there, and so we were there for a little while.
Okay.
And I took her home, called her up, asked her for a date in January. We planned on going to a movie in town, here, Warren. And we ended up with a blizzard instead. That weekend I spent in the bowling alley. But then we got out of the bowling alley, and then I took her to a movie sometime during the week. We went to the movie.
Okay.
So, anyway.
So what was the highlight of your military career, Alan? What was the best thing about it for you?
Boy, I don't know if there was really a best thing. I changed jobs many times, looking for one that I might really like
In the military?
in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went in, when I took over the weapons platoon, I had to transfer branches from engineer to infantry. Then in '79, I got an opportunity for a promotion, but I had to change my branch again. So I went to Field Artillery School at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Came back from there and got promoted. Well, I was promoted while I was down there to captain. Then came back, and the job required that I worked a lot with the infantry. I did fire coordination, meaning the infantry wants rounds put on a certain area. I coordinate that, talk to the guns, point them in the right direction, coordinate with the guy that's out there directing.
You give them the grids or whatever?
I give them the grid.
Okay.
And then I had...
So you did work with artillery too, then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I worked at the artillery for, what was it, 4 years?
Do you remember the size of the cannons you were working with?
We were working with, well, 81 millimeter mortar was one of them, and the other one was 155 howitzer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The 155 howitzer is the one I'd like to direct, because when you gave them a coordinate, they put it there. They were accurate. The mortar, that was, by golly, close.
Yeah. So is there anything different you'd like to have done while in the military?
The way it all turned out, not necessarily, because it gave me quite a background in working with people. Working with people falls into where I am now, and
Okay.
I'm working with all kinds of weirdos and some pretty straight people, but
So I take it you're retired now?
I wish.
Okay. What are you doing now?
In '96, when I retired from the Guard, I didn't have anything to support my farming habit. So I got wind that there was this new, it was a job that was involved installing septic systems. And I found out I went down to Maple Lake and was putting in one for a guy that lived right here close to Warren. He had a cabin down there, so he needed a septic system. And he gave me a whole bunch of rules I had to follow. And I go, well, that's no big deal. And then the person from Polk County that issued permits for putting in septic systems came out and looked at my work and seemed quite satisfied. The guy I was doing the work for, he said, yeah, he graduated from college with a civil engineering degree, so he should know what he's doing. Well, yeah, I knew what I was doing, but I hadn't gotten my ticket punched, so I wasn't exactly legal. But they weren't too concerned about it at that time because they were looking for people to install or design, install, and inspect systems in the state of Minnesota. Didn't matter what county. So I got into that. I went to school in the spring of '96. I retired from farming, rented out my land so that I could keep it, and that's how I paid for it, was by renting it out. And I farmed a little bit in '96, put in 18 acres of barley and with alfalfa underseeded. So I was able to sell alfalfa the following 2 years, which left me in the farming category because I wasn't making that much money with the septic business at that point. And the way it turns out, you can't make a living just putting in septic systems. Because first of all, there aren't that many unless you want to run all over the state. Well, then you got to have some pretty damn good equipment. Mm-hmm. So what kept me afloat was the fact that I was renting out my farmland.
You still putting septics in, or?
I still putting septics in.
Okay.
But I'm getting away from it. I'm getting away from it.
So this is an advertisement for work?
This isn't an advertisement. Oh, it isn't?
Or is it?
Yeah. No, I have some systems that were supposed to have been put in last fall, which didn't get put in primarily because I spent too much time digging graves. That all falls into the digging thing. And putting in septics falls into the digging category. So you do excavation and then you put back and what have you. And the systems that I didn't finish last fall have to be done this year. And I will do them. I will go out and I will do designs for people. And if they need an inspection, I can do that. But if I design it, I'm going to pass it off to somebody else. And I've got 3 people in mind. And I've worked with each of them.
Okay. Getting back to your military career, you enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it, or?
For the most part, I enjoyed it.
Must have if you stayed in that long.
Yeah. Well, there were some rough spots, but then it doesn't matter what you do, there's some rough spots.
So as you were in the Guard, is there any like community things that you did? Floods or?
I was gone when they activated our unit for the flood of 97.
97?
Yeah. Is that the year that Fargo went under?
Yep.
Yeah.
Grand Forks, Fargo.
No, that wasn't. That was 97.
Right.
Wasn't it?
Grand Forks.
It was in 79 that there was a flood.
Okay.
And that's it was in 79 there was a flood. Our unit was activated. I was not home yet.
But you were never activated for like protesters or anything like that?
we were on state active duty for, at the meat plant in, can't think of the name of the town now, but they had a slaughterhouse there. And the union went on strike, and so they brought the guard in to control the situation, and we weren't out too much in the daytime, but at night we were out and positioned people in key places. Well, we didn't go out the same time every night. We found out how they were going to set up and how they were going to occupy and what time they were going to occupy, and we'd get there an hour ahead of them. So they really couldn't get into the mischief that they had planned.
Okay.
Well, it got to the point where they settled the argument, and we got to go home.
Did you train with riot gear or stuff like that?
I didn't.
But your unit?
I think the unit did.
Okay.
They had done a lot of it before I got in there. And I think after I left the unit in Thief River, they did some.
Okay.
But see, as I went up to higher headquarters and didn't get involved with some of that stuff.
Okay.
So.
Anything else you wanted to add about your military career, Allyn?
Well, I could probably add something, but how to word it properly would be a little bit more difficult.
Why don't you put your signature hat on so people, we don't have you put the hat on because it kind of leaves a shadow, but there you go.
There.
Well, Allyn, I want to thank you for doing this interview and thank you for your service.
Well, you're welcome.